Welcome, everyone. I'm Nicholas Kontopoulos, and I'm really excited to have you guys all join us today for CMO Executive Circles. We've got a jam-packed agenda for you today. But before we get started, I want to actually just take you through some housekeeping to ensure you get the best out of today's session. We've got a fantastic platform here for you to use on 24, and it's got some really great capabilities that we want you to take advantage during the session. The good news is, first and foremost, we are recording this session, so if one of your colleagues you think would love to hear this or be part of this, don't worry, you can share this with them post the event. You should have it within a few hours after the session. Also, your console is completely customizable, so you can move things around. So familiarize yourself there with the tools. One particular feature we want you to use today is group chat. So make sure you click on that and have the little widget pop out, because we're going to ask you to interact with us across a couple of different options here today. We've got some surveys for you, but we also love to get you guys popping in some of your thoughts through the group chat tool. And also you got the Q&A widget there. If you need to ask a question, also of the technical team, if you're having any issues, please feel free to go there. Best to make sure you're on a LAN connection if you have that, or that you shut down all the other applications that you're running to optimize your experience for today. But let's get started by first and foremost introducing you to our esteemed panel that we've got of individuals here. We've got a really great lineup of speakers. I mean, just for those that aren't familiar with who I am, as I said, my name's Nicholas Kontopoulos. I've got the great privilege of heading up the Adobe Commercial DX Marketing Organization in Asia Pacific and Japan. And we've got also joining us today the CMO, Nick Flood, CMO of Secure Code Warrior. Again, he's going to be sharing some very valuable insights with us today. I'm looking forward to him, presenting his views on marketing and what some of the lessons he's learned over his career with all of you here today. We're also joined by Kevin. Kevin is a technical guru. I've been working with Kevin for the last nearly a year now, and he brings such a wealth of experience in terms of marketing and marketing automation, and just generally in marketing in terms of all aspects of marketing, in particular digital marketing. So he's going to also be sharing some really great insights with you today. So again, thank you for joining us today, Kevin and Nick. Really looking forward to hearing from you both. And last but not least, we've got also Mike Hans. And Mike Hans heads up our APAC customer success team for Marketo. He comes with, again, similar to Mike, similar to Kevin and Nick, has a wealth of experience in terms of marketing experience. So we're looking forward to also, having you join us today, Mike, and sharing some of those insights with the audience today. So, gentlemen, I know you guys have got busy schedules, but I really do appreciate you guys taking the time out today. So with that, I'm going to move over to what our learning objectives are going to be today and learning outcomes. So like I said, we've got a pretty jam-packed session here today. And what we want to do is deliver you guys, obviously some insights on how you can get the best out of any technology investments you're making. We want to give you the ability to picture what marketing automation journey can look like, and what are some of the things you need to be thinking about when you prepare for that journey. We also want to give you a deeper sense of, what some of the concerns and benefits surrounding marketing automation look like. That's also an area that we want you to hopefully walk away with is those insights in terms of what are some of the pitfalls that you might want to avoid. I see a lot of brands still making mistakes around automation or buying marketing automation and treating it like a diet pill solution. So I'm keen for the guys to share some insights on the people and process side of the equation. And hopefully what we'll leave you with is a confidence that will give you an increased level of confidence in being able to make more informed decisions around marketing automation coming out of this session. So to get started, we're going to have Kevin, who's going to walk us through how marketing automation directly impacts both the bottom and top line of a business, and how the results from close integration within both from a technology but also business perspective is becoming increasingly important if you want to see success. Then we're going to have Nick Flood, who's going to share some really awesome insights that he's gathered over the years in terms of successfully rolling out marketing automation into his businesses, and in particular at his time with Secure Code Warrior, and what decisions his team took when it came to making a selection of of a marketing automation solution, but also what were some of those pitfalls that that he would like to share insights on that you can hopefully avoid making yourselves. And then we're going to pivot over to Mike, who will dig deep into the importance of finding the right marketing automation partner, because it is a partnership. It is really we're going to be going on a journey together if we're going to work together, and the partners you select are really important, because it is such a critical component of your business. And the role of people, again, Mike's going to share some insights there that he's gathered over the years, and how you bring people, process, and technologies together to really drive transformational success in your businesses. We'll then move into a copy-style chat where we'll get to ask some of the questions to the chaps. We'll explore some of their thoughts on these topics. And there's a lot to cover here. We've got a lot of territory to cover over the next 90 minutes. If you've got any questions, please feel free to drop them into the Q&A bucket or widget, and also feel free to interact through the group chat. Again, that's an opportunity for you guys to collaborate with us. But I'm going to now bring Kevin Waldron over to take over the session for our part one chapter part one. Over to you, Kevin.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nicholas, for that great introduction. So as Nicholas said, I'm the head of customer strategy at Adobe. I really help our customers translate their business challenges, their objectives into the marketing automation landscape. So, of course, have a really good understanding of how we can impact an organization and how we can drive and increase revenue. The first thing to kind of set the scene on is what is marketing automation. So marketing automation does a few things, right? So it helps, certainly helps with lead management, with routing the right leads to sales, with scoring, with nurturing activities across multiple channels. And that's a bit of a definition there from Gartner. In fact, recently Gartner actually released some of their leaders in their Magic Quadrant for CRM lead management, of which we're very proud to say that we ranked in the top right of that quadrant against all other platforms as well. And we'll tell you why in just a moment, but primarily it's around these different business impacts and how we help different businesses. If we look at the different business impacts and where we actually assist, there are actually 7 different impacts to a business. I'll be taking you through 5 of those impacts today. When we go in and talk to customers for the first time, each business is different, but what we do find is that there's some commonality in terms of where we can drive change for organizations. So the first impact that I want to talk to you about is building a centralized marketing data hub. Typically, our customers would have their data sitting in disparate systems, maybe in a CRM, maybe in a database some way, maybe even sometimes even from their CMS. And it's all about how do we bring that data together to be able to actively engage with our prospects. So building that centralized marketing data hub is critically important. There is a bit of a myth, though, in terms of what it takes to build a centralized marketing data hub. A lot of customers say, well, actually, I need to get all my systems integrated. I need to make sure that the CRM is up and running and it's been in my business for at least 12 months before I make the investment into marketing automation. But that's simply not true. What we do find is that we can make those inroads very, very quickly just by starting small, starting with those small use cases and bringing in the data that's going to help you actually drive those initial use cases as well. And sometimes, it might be as simple as, hey, can I maybe import some data in the beginning before I actually get that integration in place with my marketing automation platform? Building a centralized marketing data hub is going to help you, obviously, with how you engage with your customers. But a lot of our customers have actually built their business case primarily around the governance side of things, moving away from managing spreadsheets or maybe even sending, heaven forbid, a spreadsheet of customers to an agency to upload and then send out an email on our behalf. It's actually have the systems nicely integrated together, which is going to help you with your governance. Some of our customers have even put in their business cases moving forward. What's that? What are those fines we're going to avoid if we accidentally breach the Spam Act? Or do I need to consider the ramification around the notifiable data breaches scheme, where if any piece of customer data, any personally identifiable information is leaked, we need to make that publicly known. So that's one way to look at it. Yes, from the engagement point of view, but also from the governance point of view as well. The next one is around streamlining lead management and improving sales alignment. These kind of words speak for itself, but there's really 2 aspects to this. So how can I ensure as my organization that I'm bringing in high quality and a high number of leads for my sellers. And I think that's often a balance as marketers, we face. Typically, we also have customers that might have more kind of SMB sales teams and maybe enterprise sales teams where maybe they look at it differently. As an SMB team, I want a large volume of leads to come through and sift through, but maybe as an enterprise team, I'm looking for maybe lower volume, higher quality. But of course, in both cases, quality is incredibly important. Not handing over leads when they're cold, handing them over when they're warm, making sure you also enable your sales team with as many insights around that lead as possible. Where did that lead go on my website? What ad did they come from? What content were they interested in? What was that last interesting moment that happened in that prospect's journey that I can then hand over to sales and hand over that sales intelligence so that they can help with that conversation moving forward and ultimately help to convert that customer as well. The next one's around expanding the customer lifecycle engagement. Typically, when someone's investing in marketing automation, they're only looking at how that can help across acquisition. We need to look at how it's going to help across customer onboarding and retention, and sometimes we even refer to it as operations automation as well. There's a large number of our customers that are using Marketo to help with onboarding, for example. One of the biggest customers that uses Marketo for that is Uber Eats. So Uber Eats, for example, they had a large volume of restaurants coming on board, particularly around COVID. They're using Marketo to be able to help those individuals, those restaurants, put their details in correctly and get onboarded in a timely fashion. So yes, it's acquisition, it's also retention, it's marketing, and it's operations automation there as well. A really good example and a case study that we recently published was around Legal Vision. And Legal Vision is a law firm based in Australia that have used Marketo's personalization capabilities and really helped to transform their business moving forward. Legal Vision, they're transforming legal services. They cater for different industries. They have different products and services and technology that they sell. So being able to personalize that journey for those individuals based on what sector they're in, what services they're interested in, and what products they're interested in is incredibly important for them. They saw 15,000 new prospects coming in with a 44% improvement in those click-through rates from those really personalized and targeted campaigns they were delivering for their customers. They saw a huge increase in marketable contacts as well. So one of the biggest drivers is how do I increase my anonymous to known leads? And they've done that through a 477 increase in marketable contacts. They've also looked at all those redundant pieces of technologies and the savings for their business as well, and around $100,000 in savings for their organization through the investment in marketing automation. If you simply Google Legal Vision Marketo, you will see that case study that's live and see exactly how they drove that revenue for their business. The next one is all around proving marketing's impact on the business as well. So how do I move from that first touch or last touch attribution to multi-channel attribution? How do I prove my return on investment across all my different touch points? But also, it's not only just marketing touch points, it's those sales touch points as well. So how do I track my online activity, my offline activity, and my sales touches, and where should I invest my dollars moving forward? And it's really moving towards having that conversation of where am I driving revenue for the business rather than where am I spending money. And finally, the last one is around a center of excellence. So how do I enable my teams to operate more effectively? How can I increase my marketing effectiveness? How can I scale, obviously, my marketing operations, but get campaigns out the door quicker? How can I also turn my marketing team into a batch and blast kind of email team into actually triggered communications to that individual where they are in their journey with us as an organization there as well? So those are kind of the key, the top impacts that we see when we talk to our prospects and our customers. I'd love to know a bit more from you, though, from the audience, and what's your main area of concern, or how we can, assist you moving forward. What would make the biggest impact to your business? Is it that increasing that marketing efficiency? Is it building that centralized marketing data hub to get all your data together to be able to engage and get that governance? Is it streamlining lead management, improving sales alignment, the closer sales and marketing orchestration? Is it expanding across that customer life cycle, so not just acquisition and retention, but moving from not just marketing automation to operations automation? Can I personalize experience across different channels as well? So not only just through email, but is that actually also going to be across maybe SMS, across advertising, across maybe in-app if I've got a mobile application? Is it around improving marketing's impact to the business, or is it on the center of excellence? So I'm going to start the poll now, and I might get you to select your number one area of concern or the biggest area of impact for your organization moving forward. Excellent. So thank you for sharing your thoughts with us on the biggest impact. I guess to kind of sum it all up, we need to understand that market automation impacts your whole business. It's not just marketing. You know, we see the most successful customers getting IT and sales on board from the very beginning, maybe even your operations and account management teams as well. Really, it impacts your whole of business, and getting them on the journey is really, really important. And it's important to involve all those stakeholders from the very beginning and get their thoughts of view, their points of view. It's not only going to help you with, you know, getting this project live and within your organization, it's also going to help you with that return on investment. Are there other areas of the business, not just marketing, where marketing automation technology can assist moving forward? So now that we've understood, I guess, a bit about the impacts of marketing automation, we actually want to hear about the impacts from a customer who's been through this journey before. And that, of course, is Nick Flood, the CMO of Secure Code Warrior. Obviously, Nick's gone through this process of looking at market automation, looking at the investment, looking at the return on investment and how you drive change, and particularly getting leadership aligned. And Nick, maybe before we start, can you give us a bit of an overview of Secure Code Warrior and your role?
Yeah, for sure. Well, as you said, I'm the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer for Secure Code Warrior. I've been with the business for just shy of 2 years. We're based out of Sydney, but we're basically a global cybersecurity organization.
Fantastic. And maybe, yeah, take us through your journey and where marketing automation fit into the picture and how you drove that change within your organization. Over to you.
Sure, thank you. So yeah, I'm going to take you on a little bit of a journey of how we looked at marketing automation, what we needed to do at a business level, some of the trials and tribulations that we had in terms of choosing the right technology, but also then rolling that out and embedding that within the business. You're going to hear me talk an awful lot about the business. Marketing automation does not solve any business problem that you think it's going to solve if you've not brought your people on the journey with you. So we're a hyper-growth startup. So essentially what that means is that we are growing year on year in terms of our revenue. So we're calling that annualized recurring revenue. So it's ARR. We were growing year on year in terms of staff numbers as well. So as an example, I joined not quite 2 years ago, as I said. We had 40 people in the organization and 3 within the marketing organization. Now we have over 160 staff in the organization, and then I've grown the marketing organization to 13 staff. Literally still hiring now, still onboarding during these, crazy COVID times. I've got staff that I've interviewed remotely and onboarded remotely, and I won't meet them again because they're based in London or Boston or Portland until we can actually get a plane, flying somewhere. So that shouldn't change, part of the business. So why did we need to do what we need to do? Growth is the answer. We needed to become an active global player within this cybersecurity industry. Secure Code Warrior is focused on educating developers how to code securely so that cybersecurity risk is reduced. So I'll talk a little bit about the different audiences in a while, but personas was a key issue for us as well. But we needed to grow really, really rapidly. We needed to grow very quickly globally. We needed to expand our base, not just from Australia, but in North America, in Northern Europe, across APAC. So all of those regions, because delivering a cloud platform, we didn't have to kind of spin up offices and things like that. So really they were the key growth drivers for us. Cement what you're trying to do as a CMO back to the business. So I'm my own team is very, very probably sick of hearing me say, you know, I'm a revenue marketer and what we need to do is grow the business. Sales are going to do that in a salesy way. Marketing is going to do that in a markety way. And we also have a customer success team, which helps onboard and drive expansions. So the organizational goals and challenges needed to be growth, 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 you know, 2x, 3x times growth a year in terms of our revenue. We also ended up with, at the moment, we've got nearly 300 customers in more than 35 countries around the world. So it is possible to become a global organization from Australia, but we needed technology to kind of go and have that done. Part of that 24/7 operational model, you know, when Australia was asleep, we were still engaging with customers or engaging with prospects in real time in their geos. So we needed, again, technology or a system that allowed us to operate at scale, at global scale, 24/7. And we also need to do kind of a better job of the lead management and the lead handling so that marketing was seen to be a true business partner for the organization, and leads weren't just a thing that we threw over the fence to sales and expected them to kind of mop up any kind of, you know, shortcomings and things from our lead cycle. So that was the organizational challenge. We, like many organizations, you know, becoming sales-led, we had standardized on a sales automation platform. That was really the basis for commercial contract, prospecting, account management, but on the sales side. We had a bolt-on marketing automation platform that connected to that sales automation platform, but as it was a bolt-on, it wasn't fully fleshed and it wasn't fully formed. So really what we had to do was to evaluate what we needed and paint the picture. And I had used Marketo in a previous life, so I knew the benefit that it could deliver to an organization. But that said, understanding why marketing automation really works for an organization is kind of critical. So I knew the end goal of where I wanted to take the business, bearing in mind that we, as I said, I'll labor this, it was growth, growth, growth. It was global. It was always on, and we needed a very, very tight interlock between sales and marketing. So there was none of the traditional cats and dogs argument between sales not following on leads and then marketing giving leads of a low quality. So that was kind of part of what we needed to do. We also were looking at different audiences. So we have our personas. So we have a defined persona for our buyer. And in our situation, our buyer isn't necessarily our user. So when we started to look at mapping out the customer's journey, or traditionally that buyer's journey, on awareness, liking, preference, purchase, we also then needed to reflect our organization's approach to that by then adding and extending that into the onboarding piece, the renewal piece, the expansion piece, and ultimately that then drives to an advocacy, you know, really trying to drive kind of customer advocates at that point. So when we kind of threw all those into the mix, we knew that our different personas needed to be able to interact with us in their location at a time that was critical for them. Our user was also going to interact with us in a different way at a time that is relevant to them. And each one of those is going to consume content in a very different way. Therefore, the content that we needed to produce was very different for those different personas. And at each persona, and at each stage of the customer journey, I wanted a platform that could both present content, the appropriate content, but also recognize that that content had been consumed, and then use engagement of the content as the method to move them to the next stage. So not just triggering because they had opened something or clicked something, but actually being able to form a picture of the journey of that prospect into the consumption of our assets, of our creatives, but do that in a way that moved them through that kind of customer journey, so that when hand on heart marketing presented a lead to sales, we actually gave them a lead that had been educated, the sales team knew what was happening and then could have a very intelligent opening conversation based around the consumption of collateral or the movement from an educational phase to then a buying phase. We're marketers. Marketing should be aligned to the business. So I don't want to hear anybody that says that, marketing is just coloring in. That's a joke that I trot out at many of my team meetings. But marketing in the modern era is all about an alignment to the business. And as a CMO, that's what I'm trying to elevate my team to recognize, that in this modern world, a world of digital consumption, a world of non-traditional buying, you also need to be non-traditional in terms of that marketing stack that you're building. So again, technology is one piece, business alignment is the second piece, but you've also got to have staff who get where you're going and are really excited to drive their change as marketers or marketeers. And again, I often say that when we're looking at revenue growth for the business, sales are doing that in a salesy way, marketing are doing that in a markety way, and our customer success team do that in a customer successy way. So it was very critical for, as a new leader coming into an organization, to set a picture that said marketing will be an engine for qualified pipeline growth. When I talk to the business, when I sit as part of the executive team, they're not interested in the number of clicks and the number of downloads and, us congratulating ourselves because we've got a 0.3% open rate on an email blast. When we talk internally, absolutely, I want the best marketing experience that we can for my team. I want everybody to be on top of their game. But at the business level, you need to talk in the words that the business use. And that business at us is looking at your pipeline, looking at your opportunities, and then looking at that flow through the funnel towards a closed won opportunity. And of course, there is metrics and things that we would use and metrics that we would talk about, but that's not really something that, as a senior marketer, you want to be talking to the rest of the business. So use the language of the rest of the business and define a lead. So just have a simple conversation with your sales team to say, what is a lead? When would you like to see the lead? And teach them how to react and interpret the leads that you're kind of giving them. So that leads me into that position there, creating new goals to support sales. We knew that we had different buyers. We knew that they interacted with us in a different way. We knew that the sales cycle happened at different cadences depending on who that audience was. So it was very much around, again, relating this back to this marketing automation platform. If you can go through the understanding of why you want the platform to do what you want it to do, it's an easier decision to then push that upwards into the business to get support to then say, I'm doing this to drive a fundamental change to our business. And fundamentally, that is going to change because I'm going to see an uptick in pipeline generation. I'm going to have an easier time when sales and marketing interact with each other. We're going to see an increase in velocity of opportunities that were marketing sourced through the sales engine, as opposed to potentially leads that weren't marketing sourced progressing through the sales engine. So there's a number of metrics and there's a number of things that you should be able to articulate as a CMO when you're trying to go up and get success across the business. So how do we go about it? There's a couple of kind of key players at the within the marketing automation kind of world, and as was noted earlier, then Adobe continues to shine in terms of that kind of top right-hand side of all of those quadrants. What I wanted an enterprise-grade platform. As a startup, it's very easy to kind of go, well, let's go with the cheapest option. However, that's not always the best option to provide us with that growth. You don't want to go chopping and changing your automation platform every kind of 2 years, because you're going to be building your organization around that. So get it bedded in, get it connected to your sales organization, understand the touch points, and then do that once. So go with that enterprise grade kind of platform. So what we did is we looked at a couple of the market players. We dismissed a few that weren't quite up to kind of scratch from an enterprise perspective. And then I worked with my marketing automation manager to really go through and define what success looked like for us, and then give us some shortlist. And we worked with both Adobe and others to give the team a view of what it might look like. It really made a big difference to us to actually go through and do some trial runs with the software. So running a trial or a proof of concept, actually getting hands-on, because my marketeers are on this platform every day and it needs to work. I want them to be excellent at Marketo. I want them to be building marketing automation platform programs and nurture programs that are award-winning. That's the challenge to them, is go and win an award for what you've done. So we shortlisted with the MarTech managers. I'd say you don't have to have somebody that is classified as a MarTech manager. It helps you. You do need, because of the rise of all of the digital interaction that happens with your prospects versus your users, it does make sense to have somebody who knows how to knit technology together, either the Marketo into your Salesforce automation platform. That's a key one. So who is going to do that? Obviously, Adobe has some wonderful CS people who can help you with that implementation, but you want to drive that on a daily basis. Other things, I wanted to build Marketo as the center of our marketing automation universe. So I'm now looking at different platforms and different systems that can bolt into it and add to our lead progression and add to our lead management, as well as then not breaking that connectivity into the sales machine, and also vice versa. So not impossible to do this without a MarTech manager, but it does help moving forward. From a budget perspective, this is a biggie. If you want to go down the cheap and cheerful path, there are options for that, but I wouldn't recommend that. You want to go and paint the picture of how you're going to do what you're going to do. If you're aligning that to the benefit of the organization, if you're bringing your sales VP with you or your sales leader going, look, we can do this together. We can create an engine for pipeline growth. And again, that was my team's kind of mantra, create that engine for qualified pipeline growth. You're going to give a better outcome to your prospects. You're going to enable you to interact with your customers far more effectively by having a platform that can do this at scale. Then the budget conversation becomes easier, because you're talking in terms of the business rather than saying, here's a shiny thing that we're going to get and it's going to solve all our problems. Articulate your problems first, articulate your solutions, paint the picture of where you want to take your business as a marketeer. What do you want your group to deliver to the business? And then go and have that conversation with your CFO. It is easy to do it that way and ask for money to deliver a business outcome than it is to go to the CFO and go, hey, I'd like, $100,000 and I'm going to go off on this tangent and I'm not quite sure how it's going to benefit my business. So the budget piece for us was very clearly around getting and articulating the business value, making sure that we brought those business leaders with us on that journey. And then we could all then go and have a conversation with the CEO and get sign-off at that point. I've come in very under, so there's time for Q&A.
Oh, no, listen, Nick, I've killed half a tree. My whole desktop is full of Post-it notes now off the back of that. So so many great insights. And I'm definitely going to come back to you and have a whole host of questions, because what you clearly shared there with us all was a systematic approach to how you went about driving transformation. And I love you brought people, process, and technology together, and again anchored that around, I think the key message there was around the business priorities, and using the language
Yes.
of the business, I think, is absolutely critical. Nick, is that fair to say?
Absolutely, yeah. We can spend heaps of times there in the Q&A and the coffee session.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to coming back to you. Like I said, I've got loads of additional questions I would love to probe with you. But I'm going to bring Mike over now for the next section. And again, Mike knows customer success. He's passionate about this. He lives it each and every day, and his team has an amazing team working for him. And I'm really keen for Mike to share some of his insights, again, because he has the great privilege of not only working with Nick, but also a whole host of great brands across the region. So, Mike, I'd love you to bring you over into the session and have you share some of your insights. So you ready to go, my friend?
I'm ready to go.
Excellent. Over to you, my mate.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Nicholas and Nick. So I thought I'd start off with, if you do happen to go across to LinkedIn, as I know many of you do following these sessions, and check out the various presenters, please don't be confused by some videos that you might see that I've posted on technology from 30 plus years ago. I can assure you that's all being done for a good cause. Not really my focus of expertise and where I've been focused for the last 20 years. Where I have been focused is on engagement and helping organizations determine what is the optimal engagement they can have with their prospects and customers that will deliver the best business outcome. And that's really where I've been focused for the last 20 years, and where I want to spend some of the time today talking to you about what I see as being successful. Now, you might expect that coming from Adobe and coming from a vendor, that I'm going to talk primarily about the technology. But in actual fact, really in reference to and to expand upon what Nick Flood just spoke about, it's really a combination of these three things in equal parts. Technology is absolutely important, and I'll talk about the critical elements there in a moment, but it's also about what are the right people with the right skills, and how do you make sure the processes and the organizational processes are all aligned to maximize the value of that technology. So I'm going to talk about each of these three things, but I am going to talk about technology first. So what is it about marketing automation, and what are the critical capabilities that set a top tier, and as Nick talks about, an enterprise-grade marketing automation platform apart? And it's really these three key elements: personalization at scale, agility and speed of execution, and then measurement. Am I being successful? So to drill into these in a little more detail, I am going to use the analogy of photography. I'm an amateur photographer. In fact, when I first learned photography, it was on a traditional film SLR, which was really quite challenging. Now, today, we're very fortunate in that technology has advanced massively, and we all have at our disposal point-and-click cameras, or in actual fact, most typically, a camera embedded into our mobile phone. And that has made pretty good photography accessible to everyone within these modern devices. And so you can quickly point and shoot, take a snap, and get pretty good quality photos. The challenge is when you get into situations that go beyond the capability of what a simple camera can do embedded in our phone. Low light situations, nighttime, sunrise, sunset. Now, these situations often, when you are able to take advantage of them, you can deliver or yield the best outcomes, the most amazing photos. But it's really beyond the capability of that simple tool. And so that's where you would need a digital SLR. Now, digital photography and digital SLRs has benefited from the simplicity that's embedded in these devices. So the modern digital SLR makes it easy to do the simple things. But when you need to do something that's a little bit more sophisticated, there's no ceiling. And marketing automation is exactly the same. So in these three areas, personalization at scale, firstly, what is the key differentiation points? Number one, it's can you actually ingest and utilize all the data at your disposal? And that is demographic behavior, firmographic behavior, and then behavioral data. Can you actually bring all those data sets together and utilize that to deliver a personalized customer engagement or prospect engagement and do that at scale, i.e. in a very automated fashion. And that's where you can start to see some ceilings with some of those cheaper tools that Nick alluded to. But a top-tier tool is able to allow you to ingest that data and utilize it and personalize. And importantly, the last element is you don't need to be able to write code. Right, so you don't need to be a technical person. It actually gives you the ability, takes advantage of the simplicity of that, in example, point and shoot camera, but gives you the sophistication to be able to personalize at scale. Now, number two is agility and speed of execution. So quality is incredibly important. And quality, when I think about quality of engagement with a prospect, means really highly personalized, delivering the right message at the right time in the right channel. That's critically important. But we also know that volume is important. We need to be able to replicate and deliver an increased amount of engagements that deliver on that high quality. And the best way to do that is you take something that's working and you replicate it. And this is where agility and speed of execution really gets differentiated in the top tier tool like Marketo. Are you able to replicate? Now, there's a big difference between copying and cloning. Copying, you can copy something that works, but it still requires someone to go in and manually make a whole bunch of updates to ensure that it's actually going to be aligned. Cloning means that I can replicate it, and all the necessary elements that can change are variables, and so they'll change and they'll now represent the new campaign and the new execution that I'm making. The difference is I can literally replicate a working campaign, make a new one, and have it running in under an hour compared to days or even weeks. So I can really shorten the time, give my team a lot more agility. That's number two. And then the final one is measurement. Really coming back to what Nick was talking about, am I aligned to what the business sees as success as far as what marketing is delivering for the business? So part of this is about alignment, and it's about having alignment of processes and aligning to the same KPIs, but that's also critically about being able to extract the data and represent it in a way that is aligned to those key KPIs. So these are really the top three elements that I see, and in my experience working with literally hundreds of customers, the key things that differentiate them and allow them to take advantage of marketing automation technology to deliver the best business outcomes. Now, beyond the technology, onto the other two elements, people and process. The recently released Gartner report, so the lovely Gartner Magic Quadrant, this one for CRM lead management, and they evaluate a whole range of different criteria in terms of assessing different vendors. One of those critical elements is ability to execute. And critically, components that comprise that are beyond the technology, right? So these are things that are really about the supporting people that vendor provides to ensure that when Nick and Secure Code Warrior get started, there is expertise that can support them so that they can maximize and indeed get set up in the right way to ensure that they're going to maximize the value that they can derive from Marketo. So the key things that Gartner assesses are the consultant skill. Is there an ecosystem of partners that can also be relied on that have similar skills? What is the technical support like? How effective are they? How knowledgeable are they? Are they onshore? All these things that provide the highest level of support when you really need it. And then lastly, and most importantly, is there a community of like-minded people or customers that are already also out there? So then you've covered really everything that you can get support from a vendor, an ecosystem of partners, and then are there other customers and user groups that you can collaborate and get answers to? And all of those things contribute to ensuring that you are able to get the right support from the vendor perspective. So just recapping quickly, the things that really determine whether you have the right partnership are ensuring that you are covering off in equal proportions the people, process, and technology, and ensuring that you're going to be successful. Now, the next section, I would like to pose a question. Now, we'll come back and we'll review the answers that we get to this, but if you can post your answers into the group chat. And so the question is, what are some of the roadblocks you consider as you consider marketing automation solutions. So what are some of the challenges that you might be facing in terms of moving this forward and bringing in a new capability that is enterprise grade and at the top tier? So if you can post those answers in the group chat, and then we'll come back to those once we have our coffee chat. Now, while we're doing that, and while you're posing some of those answers, I'm going to give you an example of an organisation that I've worked with. Now, Literacy Planet, they actually made the decision, and this was a year and a half ago now. They were an existing Marketo customer, and they decided that they were going to move away to an alternate platform. This is one of the things that Nick referred to is, you want to avoid doing this. Now, fortunately for them, they realised in very short order that actually that was the wrong decision. And so within 6 months, they came back to Marketo. And I want to talk about a little bit why they did that, and what was in their minds, and what was the critical elements that meant that Literacy Planet needed to come back to Marketo. The first of these is they have a business with multiple personas, and each persona needs to be treated differently. So it needs personalization. They need to be able to segment those different audiences. They need to be able to score them, so use that data and apply lead scoring differently depending on those personas. And so what that speaks to is that's at the top tier. Now you're in digital SLR camera mode, right? I need to be able to ingest all that data and then create the right business rules so that I can personalize the engagement at scale, so automated, to all those different personas. And they found that Marketo was the only solution that was allowing or would allow them to do that. And importantly, lastly, without having to write code. So they can still do that with the flexibility and agility that the marketing team needed. So speaking of agility, this was the second key thing. Now, in their words, and this is a published case study that they've said, they could literally come up with an idea in the morning and have the campaign live in the afternoon. And they wouldn't, of course, they're not doing that from scratch. That would be quite difficult, but this is where they're using one of those key techniques and those key capabilities that I talked about, the ability to clone something that's worked and then using tokens or variables to ensure that they can substitute the value so that their new campaign is up and running and ready to be delivering value by the afternoon. Now, in terms of measurement of results, so what sort of results have Literacy Planet seen? Well, you can see some of those examples on the slide there. So in terms of their first quarter target, they were able to overachieve those by 220%. And this speaks to alignment to the sales team, increase and overachieve their opportunity targets by 180%. And that led to 150% increase in revenue against their objective in their fourth quarter, which was end of June 2020. So lots of key metrics that demonstrate Literacy Planet being able to achieve these benefits, and they also believe and have demonstrated that it has enabled them to adapt to the market conditions. So the current situation that we all find ourselves in terms of COVID has meant that Literacy Planet's been one of those organisations that had to adapt, and they've been able to do that through the flexibility of Marketo. Now, I'll just make a quick mention of something that Kevin's going to talk about a little bit later, which is the strategy and mapping sessions. And this is something that we can do subsequently. And one of the key elements here is that we can assess the suitability of each organisation and what's important for you and what makes you the kind of organisation that can benefit most from marketing automation. And with that, I'm going to hand back to Nick.
Thank you, Mike. And man, that was a great session. Between the three of you guys have stretched my brain in new different directions, which is exciting because I'm actually finding myself learning a lot just from this session myself. And with that, I actually want to kick over to a coffee chat where we bring each of you guys into the conversation now. And if we think about technology, what's becoming clear to me is that it can be a bit of a messy dance between, in particular for marketing, between marketing, IT, and sales. Each business function has its own sort of agenda, objectives, its own concerns and responsibilities that we, need to be considering if we're going to embark on a journey of transformational change from a marketing perspective. And we need to understand each stakeholders' unique requirements on that journey, because I think it is natural that we tend to look at things through our own lenses, in terms of what's this impact going to mean to me and my business, and am I going to lose some control here in terms of if I work with marketing in this new way. So Nick, I'd love to start with you, if you don't mind, because again, you have shared some really amazing insights on your own personal journey. The importance of having a vision was something that came out really strongly for me straight out of the gate. But you talked about marketing also being the driver of sales. I love that personally. My background is a 20-year sales veteran. I came into marketing later, and I actually found myself chuckling to your reference about coloring in department, because that was what all my sales team colleagues said to me. Why are you moving to the coloring in department? But I did see at the time a real opportunity for marketing to evolve and take it to the next level. And I'd love to hear your view on, what your journey's been like. What have you seen, on that journey? And have there been times when, the alignment between sales and marketing was just missing? What did that look like?
Yeah, for sure. So I have grey hair that it's remaining on the top of my head. So I've been around a while, and so I've worked in marketing and I've worked in kind of the sales part of it. I think the reality of it is that the buying process has changed. So I'm in B2B, so definitely the B2B buying process has changed, but we see that as a consumer anyway, because there's just, a plethora of information and influencers, and the last place that somebody looks is the vendor's website. You're looking at comparison sites and all those kind of things. So if the buying process has changed, sales and marketing should be changing too. So it's not just about, if we're an enterprise SaaS model, so it's people want to be downloadable. You want to be able to get relatively quick, frictionless access to the stuff that you want, because we want it now, and then we want more of that. So if buying's changing, then sales and marketing need to change too. So that's really the kind of the biggest, within the sales organizations, there's a lot of, push for social selling and things like that. Well, that's just influencing and showing value and talking to people about everything other that you can talk about, rather than trying to sell to them. So you mirror that into the marketing side of the world, which is educate your prospect, move them through the buyer's journey, establish value, earn the relationship that you have with them, and then collectively you can then move them through to a buying. And I've been very clear to then say a lead is a reflection of a behavior. A lead is not a name. Just because somebody's downloaded a white paper, that's an educational trigger. So lots of people want to be educated. So don't send that lead, don't qualify that as a lead. Somebody has downloaded a white paper. You might be very proud of the white paper, lovely, but don't pass that to sales as a lead, because it isn't. It's a reflection of buying, of educational behavior, not buying behavior. So when you're looking, at automation and just that, the conversation that you're having with the business, it's about, okay, let's look at all of our educational triggers. Let's do all of that, but let's look at how we can track behavior. And when somebody goes to a buying behavior, then have that conversation. So that's really the biggest kind of change that we're seeing in the world around us. And then as marketers, you want to be cognizant of the fact that sales want somebody who is ready to buy. Don't give them somebody who's still educating themselves. Move them through that process, move them through a customer journey. And then when you give them to sales, some of your metrics should be they actually progress through quicker than a non-marketing nurtured lead. And it's a good thing to nurture marketing leads properly and educate them and answer all of their questions. You're going to get a stickier customer at the end of the day. So go do that. And then, everything will be, marketers will become more aligned to the business. And I think that's kind of my key call out as any junior marketers or people that are trying to learn about it, be aligned to the business and then choose to do that in a markety way. There's nothing wrong with that.
Brilliant, brilliant insights there. I mean, Kevin, anything you'd like to add to some of those that Nick shared there?
No, absolutely. So it's getting your stakeholders involved very, very early on in the discussion as well, right? So, and understanding what's going to drive an impact for your business, not just from a marketing sense, from IT, how you're going to make their lives easier. If we've built cases around just those process of even manual data uploads, and I spoke about that governance before. Through to your sales team, through to your operations, account management. I think it's bringing everyone on the journey and understanding where you can make that impact is incredibly important.
Yeah, I know, Mike, and Kevin, we share a similar passion in, customer journey mapping, persona mapping. Nick, that was something you touched on. I think it's such an important part of that journey, because again, that's where you can get that mutual or common view of a customer. If you don't have that, and that can be that connective tissue between sales and marketing, and it's so critical, because at the end of the day, what's our job? We're trying to drive, as you said, an interaction between a prospect and a customer at the right time, ensuring that that's an optimal experience. So really understanding who our customers are and making sure we're targeting the right people, I think, Mike's a really important part of the process. Would you agree in terms of that's where customers should really invest some time, like Nick's done in his business, in really understanding who their prospects are, who their customers are, and who is in the wider buying decision unit as well?
Yeah, 100%, Nick. I think we've all had personal consumer experiences that have lacked personalization. And I think we all have experience in knowing what a good customer experience and what a good customer engagement looks like. And so without going through that process, that conscious thought process of what are my personas and what are the different people that I'm engaging with, and how do I need to tailor the conversation, because ultimately what's in it for them? And I think about that, like what's in it for me is a conversation that we can have in terms of tailoring and having personas that are designed. It's also, and I've noted some of the questions that we're going to, some of the fantastic responses we've had in the group chat about some of the inhibitors about progressing with marketing automation. And some of the things there are organizational alignment and getting people on board. And it's the, answering the what's in it for me internally as well. But, from an external perspective, we need to make sure that we are delivering as personalized and as relevant experience based on where they are in their consideration cycle at that point in time. So there are different lenses that you need to look at. I'm not saying it's easy. The key thing is being able to have that data to hand so that you can construct those personas correctly.
No, I mean, I think, Nick, you'll testify it's not an easy journey driving transformation. It's a journey, isn't it? It isn't a destination. It takes time and you're constantly evolving the landscape. Would that be fair to say, Nick?
Yeah, the one thing that you can't predict is the behavior of your prospect or your customer. So you're trying to do that. You've got a nice linear flow there that, and it's all digital. So you want them to go from A to B to C to D, and they don't. They're going to go, I'm going to go A, and then I'm going to find something. I'm going to go to E, then I'm going to come back to B. So you can't, you're trying to plan that out, but they just don't do it. So you need that transformation. You need the business process that says, I just drill it into my team. Don't base the flow on triggers, base it on engagement, because you can check the engagement. But engagement takes time. You're going to earn the trust of your prospect. Don't, again, you're triggering me into pet hate territory. Gated content. Well, is this the first time I'm interacting with you? So, but I know as a marketer, I want everything. Give me everything. Tell me everything you like. Tell me where you like to look and buy things. But as a consumer, I'm not going to do that. So don't hit me up with gated content right off the bat. You've got to warm me up to get me there. So that's that transformation in terms of the thinking of a marketer to go, yeah, but I've got a brilliant white paper and I want to know everybody that's read it. I know that, but you don't have a valid relationship yet with that prospect who's still in the educational sense, in the educational stage, to ask for all of your details. So slowly, and again, Marketo's got some tricks in terms of progressive profiling and things like that. So you can slowly start to reflect the relationship that you're having with your prospect. You don't hit them up straight away. warm them up.
Yeah, great insight. So look, we've got actually a whole bunch of questions pouring in. I'd like to actually push your way, Nick, to start with, if you don't mind. Actually, there's two questions from one individual, which I'm going to ask both because they're both great questions, I think. What are some of the techniques, content pieces that work best to nurture a lead from education into a lead ready for sales? I think that's sort of segues nicely from what we were just touching on there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think as a marketer, go and put yourself in the position of your prospect. So if you've got a sales team, go spend a day with the salespeople, go on a customer call, and you'll see the impact of your collateral or your assets to then say, I'm going to show you we're the best and we do the biggest and the boldest and here's a white paper and all those kind of things. But at some point, the light bulb's got to go on with that prospect that says, if you're going through the traditional flow of unawareness, awareness, liking, preference, what are your preference signals? Then preference to purchase. What are your purchase signals? And sales are trained to look for purchasing signals. So go learn what they are. And then in terms of that traditional kind of top of funnel, top funnel middle, you've got to start to throw up in the middle of the funnel, would you like to speak to sales now? It's okay if they say no. You just kind of route them back through your nurture to go, okay, that's all right. Here's another educational piece. Here's another white paper. If you can tease out what their industry is, hey, here's what we do for the retail industry. Here's what we do for the travel industry. Get really specific and look for that light bulb that says, right, liking to preference, good. Give them some case studies, give them some use cases, give them some metrics, and then track them as they go from the consumption of those in that preference to the purchase piece. And to understand why somebody purchases, just go and talk to your salespeople.
Yeah, again, great advice at the end there. I think that's so important. You've got a great resource at your disposal. These individuals, these sellers are in all your BDR teams. That's the other one that I also recommend. They're acting, often the BDRs are the first voice of a brand in terms of who they're speaking to. So getting a good feedback loop there, I think, is brilliant advice from you. The other quick question we've got here is, what would be the ideal staff mix for B2B marketing startup that is just starting in its marketing and brand journey, similar to where your journey that you've had? What is that ideal sort of staff mix for this individual to consider?
Well,
obviously,
I did kind of reply in the text, but to kind of précis that, if your business is in growth mode, go for campaigns. Get your message out there, get your story out there, but in the selling sense. Brand recognition, brand awareness, position within your market, that will come because you've actually got customers and get your customers talking to each other. So focus on just ultimately lead or demand generation as your primary piece. If you've got a technical or a niche product and you need somebody who is translating the technical out of your product or your engineering team into customer speak, you might then look at a technical solution marketer as your next piece. But if your organization's goal is to get revenue through the door, and ultimately that's what gives you budget, focus on lead and demand gen first, and then you will gain a reputation of your brand.
Brilliant. I'm going to actually pivot now just over to Kevin. We had a poll earlier, which, what was your number one area of concern? So I'm sure everyone's, interested to see where the results landed. And in your experience, what do you think are the top 3 impacts? Could you share some insights there, Kevin? And obviously, Nick and Mike, feel free to share your thoughts after Kevin's.
Yes, I think the number one thing, and I had written this down. I had a bit of a think about it. And the beauty of talking to a lot of customers is I get a good feel without having to do any sort of survey in terms of what's the biggest impacts for our customers moving forward. And everyone on this call here today and this webinar aligned quite well with proving marketing's impact to the business. I think that is time and time again what we're here to do, is to help you as a marketer prove your return on investment. a bit of a story around that. We've been holding, a bunch of webinars and a bunch of discussions with customers, and we've typically asked them, during this COVID pandemic, have you had a decrease in your marketing budget and a decrease in headcount? And yeah, typically a large proportion might put up their hand, but there's ones that are actually saying, no, we've actually seen an increase in headcount and marketing budget. When we've asked a follow-up question and dived a little bit deeper into the why, it's typically because they have been able to, in the past, prove their impact to the business, and knowing that during this pandemic, we need to drive more and more leads to our website. We need to, drive more, through our digital platforms. By having and showing that return on investment, then actually seeing their budgets increase rather than decrease as well. Also, we've seen a few here voting for streamlining lead management, improving sales alignment. Absolutely. We've spoken in depth about the sales and marketing alignment and the sales and marketing kind of orchestration. You're both in this together, and you're in this together across the entire funnel, not just from the very top of the funnels all the way through to the bottom. And you're in it with account management and customer success teams as well. So that's how you can prove your impact across the life cycle there too. And, a few of our customers are, and maybe a bit lower polled in here, but what I had written down is certainly around, building the centralized marketing data hub. How can I bring my data in together and connect my systems to be able to engage with my customers, but also have that governance piece in there? So, quite on par with everyone answering here today, measuring and proving my marketing impact, getting that sales and marketing alignment and lead management, and then kind of the data from an engagement and governance point of view.
Mike or Nick, any additional thoughts on that? Go, Mike.
Can I just say, okay, just got one thing to say to chime in, which is probably just restating what Kevin has said. But I look at this and go, number one, proving marketing's impact on the business is the outcome that you want. The next two are the primary mechanisms that you need to drive to achieve that. So personalizing the experience across channels, and then streamlining lead management and improving sales alignment, which is the process side of it. So one is the technology largely, the other one is the process and the people that are going to support that. So those two elements, if you're able to achieve that, you focus on that, and as long as you're measuring correctly, you'll get to the top one there, which is proving marketing's impact on the business. So they're very closely related. The top two there really lead to the third one.
Absolutely.
And the one that sits behind that, for me, is the building a centralized marketing data hub. It isn't necessarily the big focus that people think of, but it is a prerequisite. Like if you want to get to achieving 2 and 3 to get to number 1, then you need to actually have that foundation of getting the centralized marketing data hub in place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes it easier. Absolutely. It's not impossible, but it's a hard slog if you don't have that platform in place, because you've got to cover so many bases these days with the digital piece and the retargeting piece and the influencer piece and then the traditional sales piece and ISR, BDRs and comparison sites and all those kind of things. You just have to be aware of so much that a good, solid, highly performing marketing automation platform is going to make that a whole lot easier. And again, just to reiterate it, if you're a marketer that is not aligned to the business, go align yourself to the business. Because if you do, you'll get more budget, you'll get more headcount, and you won't be the colouring in department over there doing, doing T-shirts and events, but T-shirts and events and things like that. So just be a business person that happens to choose marketing as the way you do what you do.
Yeah. I like what you said in your talk earlier, as well as, making looking at your automation investment as being the center of that universe of technology you're building out, that constellation of technology that's going to plug into, and then how you wrap your people, process, and technology, So again, couldn't agree more on that, in terms of past experiences in that respect. We often, again, I still see the same mistakes though being made with technology, and it is approached like a diet pill. It's like, oh, I need the technology to solve X. Or I've got X problem. I need a piece of technology to solve that. But they really don't put the effort in to understand what is the root cause of the problem. Often they're treating a symptom, and then not understanding how's the technology ultimately going to work in really driving that change, and how is it going to work with the other technologies you've got in place. So again, Nick, I think, your relationship with IT's got to be quite critical and quite important part of that journey, not just sales. It's also IT, because you are going to plug your technology into other tech, marketing automation, into other technology. So is that something you've worked on, and you consider your IT department a business partner in that respect?
I guess not as traditionally as they have been, because we're all cloud based, so there's a lot of that stuff. So a lot is the security is there, and there's a technology single sign on. So basically we have one authenticated log on, and then everything from there is nicely secure as we go out. And being a cybersecurity company, then security is kind of quite critical. But essentially, Marketo as a platform works well, just browser. That's what it's designed to do. So there's less impact to that traditional piece. But I do recognize that I have a MarTech manager as a function, as a role within my team, and then she is doing a lot of that interaction into vendors and connectivity and all of that, the connection there. So in the absence of that, then yes, you would have a very tight connection into your IT department. When you also then start to look at the scope of kind of MarTech, Scott Brinker runs the MarTech 5000, which is now the MarTech 8000. There's 8,000 plus vendors that are all out there going, hey, we can help you on your marketing journey. So it's really easy to be dazzled by all that shiny stuff and a new website and lovely mobile app and all those kind of things. But again, ground yourself into the business. What are you trying to achieve? If you can't articulate that, you're going to need to articulate that anyway when you go and brief the vendor. So how do you decide what the vendor's going to do if you don't know yourself? So there is no magic, there is no magic kind of pill that you can take to go, let me pick randomly these things and all of my problems will be solved. Understand your business, then choose the technology that's going to make that process better, and hopefully then you can kind of navigate yourself through that 8,000, or it's probably now 10,000.
It's ever growing, but it is a problem. I mean, it is one of the big challenges, I think, for marketing. If I look at the different business units or functions that sit across an organization, it is one of the most siloed historically I've seen. You've got all these different, whether it's direct marketing, channel marketing, your social listening. So it is one of the big challenges I think that's faced CMOs. How do they remove those silos, and how do they collapse that data that's being captured in these different silos and harness that with the broader data sets that are out there? But I want to throw out to the audience now a question. In the group chat, please feel free to start, sharing some thoughts on this. What are some of the roadblocks you've encountered as you considered marketing automation solutions? So a lot of the people that are dialing in now, are listening, obviously are on their own journey and looking at marketing automation. So I'd love you, if you don't mind, for you to share in the group chat just some of those roadblocks that you're encountering. And in the meantime, what I'll do is I'll pivot over to you, Mike. You've encountered and had the great privilege of working with hundreds of clients, literally hundreds of clients across the APAC region. What are some of the key differentiators you've seen between highly successful companies like Nick that have really embarked on a transformational journey that's really seen them bring sales and marketing closer together and is enabling them to be the fast growth companies they are, versus those that struggle? Can you share some thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there are many things I could talk about, but the number one I will focus on, which I think is kind of the be all and end all. This is the key difference: is have you managed to align the senior stakeholders in the business? So are you aligned? And that's what I consistently see. If you are, and we've just spoken about this, if you're siloed, it's going to be really challenging. But the organisations that do it really well, particularly the key functions of sales, revenue, and marketing, are really closely aligned. And they're aligned and working towards the same outcome. And so that helps from before you even get the platform in, right? So again, going out and determining and trying to make a selection on a marketing automation tool without selling internally as to what it's going to mean for the organisation, that's a real challenge. And then once you've got it in, ensuring that it's our tool, it's our capability. We're delivering collaboratively to the business outcomes using this tool. The organizations that do that are the ones that are the most successful in my experience. The ones that are more siloed are always under pressure. Frankly, they're the ones that, my team then is having challenges at renewal time because they're challenged in terms of justifying and delivering to the expectations of value. So that's my key differentiator.
Excellent. And I've got another, I think we're running, heading up to the hour, but I definitely want to throw one more question out to you, Kevin and Mike. I'd like to ask you guys for, from your experience helping clients transition to Marketo, do you have any particular stories where the tension or imbalance in risk perception between departments, can you share any insights on that? Maybe I'll go to
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have to go first. So a really good story is of a customer called Interactive, right? Based in Melbourne, they do hardware, maintenance, data centers, business continuity. They do cloud and managed services. And actually they have sellers within the organization aligned to those different offerings, right? So that's challenge number one. How do I direct the right lead to the right person who actually might be interested in more than one solution for my organization as well? So when we came in and helped their business, they're in a state where sales and marketing were very much misaligned. These cold leads were getting sent over to sales. The sales team had no understanding of what they were interested in, or why did they even reach a threshold to be sent over to me anyway. And so what we did is help them with their lead management and looked at, firstly defining what does a marketing qualified lead mean? What are the key indicators, both from a demographic, firmographic, and a behavior perspective that we can use towards scoring and reaching that threshold? Then I can hand that over to the right person. How do I identify the right person to send it to? Well, we did things like interest scoring. So this person was interested in hardware and maintenance, and also they were interested in your data center. So when the person picked it up, we routed it to the right person, but also that intelligence that we gave them, those insights really helped them close that deal moving forward. And what they're seeing now is really poor, what they were seeing is a really poor experience when most of those leads weren't actually getting picked up and accepted by sales, when they're now at close to 100% of their marketing qualified leads actually being picked up and accepted by sales moving forward, which is pretty unheard of, and something that they should definitely be proud of on the journey they've come on.
I mean, that's a fantastic story. Mike, do you have any that you'd like to share?
Well, I was just going to touch on quickly some of the, and just throw to everyone on this call, like all the speakers here. So I summarised quickly the group responses to the question, Nicholas, which was what are some of the impediments?
Excellent.
Yeah, and so what I've got is essentially about 50% are either budget, ROI, or organisational mindset as the key impediments. And so my initial perspective is that's a challenge with building the business case. That's about half of the respondents really are saying that. Now, add to that, there were 2 responses that said a failed previous project related to CRM. And consequently, that's led to a lot of cynicism and some barriers in terms of being able to do another tech project. So we're probably at about 60% where the barrier is really struggling to get off the ground. It can't get budget, can't justify ROI, struggling with the organisation coming on board, and then some prior challenges. So I guess, Nick Flood, I'm interested in your perspective. I'm not sure whether you've encountered all of those situations or some, but if you were in that situation where there was an impediment, what would be your approach?
I think what I would say is don't make this project about making a better marketing department. So that will be the first thing. So this isn't a case about you getting a better tool to be better at what you're doing. And this is this isolation of a function that's not really interacting into the business. So don't make it about yourself, make it about the business. Tie it to then the ultimate, success of the business, which is generating revenue. And that can be seen to be a dirty, word, but the company has to generate revenue, has to generate profit. So just skimming through some of the group chat, what I was kind of saying in terms of building a business case, there are some metrics that you might want to have a look at initially. Go talk to your sales team and go find out the length of the sales cycle. So when they get a lead, how long does it take them to close that piece of business? So go and work with them and say, right, if we get this marketing automation piece done, I will take a metric that says I will reduce that time, that sales cycle from 200 days. I will reduce it by 30% or something. But so that's one metric, length of your sales cycle. The number one there would be the number of qualified leads that your sales organization is dealing with. If you do it properly, you're going to increase the number of qualified leads that your sales organization is handling. And then the other one that you could do is you could then say, right, at a market coverage level, what is the current ability for your organization based on measuring organizational names in your target market? How many of those are you covering? How many of those are you engaging with? And they're all things that you could say, right, these are all tangible things that we can take, as a marketer, don't be afraid to take a number. Don't be scared of that one. Actually accept it and go, that's what I'm aiming towards. So reduce the sales cycle, increase the percentage of qualified leads within your pipeline, and increase in the number of organizations from your target accounts that you're covering. And then ultimately that's going to roll into percentage of marketing sourced pipeline that the sales organization is then going to go off and close. So 4 metrics. It's not going to kill anybody. So go and do that, and then again, just make it around the business.
I'm happy to tackle the failed projects one, Nick, as well, if you want.
Go for it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that's something we see all the time, and you lose faith and trust with your leadership. You get IT offside if something's not delivered properly. What I'd say is it comes down to really simply, what are those use cases that are linked back to the business impacts and objectives that I'm trying to solve, right? Being really defined in terms of what you're trying to achieve and what the impact's going to be to the business. If you don't know what a use case is, go online and Google search use case, but where it talks about the who, the what, and the why. So what are you trying to achieve within your business? So it could be something like, as an account manager, I would like to receive an alert when my customer is 6 months away from renewal and the customer gets added into a nurture program. Why? Because it's going to help me renew that customer moving forward and have a bigger renewal book of business. So it can be as simple as that, just defining what are your top 3 to 10 use cases. And the beauty of that, it's going to give you what the impact is. It's going to give you the audience. It's going to give you what data you need as well. And sometimes it just comes back to defining that and not over-promising and then under-delivering as well. And to the business case point of view as well, it's about just being realistic. And whenever we do anything around like a value analysis or a business case, we are really try as much as possible for it to be your business case. It's not our business case, right? These are the numbers that you own and you're going to take to your board or your executive, and they need to be realistic. And if any other vendors promising you the world, you should be looking at that more closely.
No, I agree. And then look, you guys have got my brain juices fired up, and we could definitely keep talking for hours. And I do look forward to us being in the same room at some point in the near future and continuing this conversation. Nick, you're a piece of, you've given loads of nuggets of advice today, which I think have, again, for me personally, been really brilliant. I love the point you just made about, don't make the investment about marketing, make it about the business. I think couldn't have said it better. I think that is such a critical component, especially if you're talking to a CFO or CEO, that you make it about the entire businesses, which is what they're invested in, and that will drive the right behavioral responses that you want to see from those individuals. Yeah. So couldn't agree more. And again, Nick, Kevin, I think the points you just made there, again, you just only enrich that. So listen, I think we need to make a move over to the next section. If my timekeeping is accurate, we're moving over to the strategy and mapping session. I'm going to bring Kevin back in here to talk us through that. So Kevin, can I hand the reins over to you now?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we want to offer as a kind of next step to anyone, or hopefully everyone on the call here today, is actually a one-to-one guided session with an Adobe strategist, right? And what we want to do is uncover, and confirm that the solution is the best fit for your organization, and give your our guidance around that. We've had a lot of questions around, budget and resourcing. Look, that's going to be there's not one size fits all. It's going to be different for different organizations. Sometimes that might be looking internally to those people who you can upskill. Sometimes that might be bringing in additional resources. So, it certainly is going to be suited to you. We'd like to then generate a strategy and a bit of a roadmap. That's another thing that we probably see where businesses fail is they don't actually have that initial, 3-6 month roadmap, 12 months plus 24 months. What am I going to achieve over the next, 2 to 3 years? And we can show you how that maps against how our customers typically mature with marketing automation. Because guess what? You'll mature in a similar way, and we've modeled that out. And we can show you what that looks like. And as I said, finally, there's resources that you need to be able to get that stakeholder support. We'd love to offer you what we call a value analysis, where we actually will get a few data points from you, and we'll put it together. We'll actually look at it, how we can drive further revenue for your business by simply focusing on that funnel, right? We just that part of the business. We can show you that impact and prove that impact moving forward. So, the call to action there for you guys is to, book that strategy and mapping session with your Adobe strategist. It's typically not going to be a lot about, technology. It's going to be about those other areas that we spoke about, the people, the process that are going to drive towards that technology outcome.
Excellent, Kevin. I really appreciate you taking that and making that offer out to all our attendees. We definitely want to make sure you're successful. We do value the partnerships we take on and with our customers, and we want to make sure you guys are driving to the end goal that we all want to do and achieve, which is delivering amazing customer experiences. Also delivering amazing employee experiences, because that's also part of this journey. How do we enable our marketers to do a better job that ultimately enables our sellers ultimately to convert their opportunities into revenue. So look, in closing, I want to thank everyone for being part of today's session. But here's the good thing. Hey, we've got so much resources for you. We've got loads of resources in the resource widget. If you look up there, I think it should be in the top right-hand corner or somewhere on your screen. Go there. There's we've got the Masterclass presentation there for you to download. We've got infographics, case study on legal vision, which is a traditional industry that's really, they're transforming the legal industry from a digital perspective, which is a really exciting story. How to secure the C-suite buy-in from marketing attribution, testimonials and other case studies from Mission Australia. So go there, download it, feast on all that great content. But also, hey, here's another thing I need you to do. Please fill in a survey. I'm paid per survey, completion. So that's how I feed my family. So go in there, and all jokes aside, fill the form in, because that enables us to, create content that is relevant to you. So this is where we'd love to hear from you about today's session, but also what other content would you like to see? What other types of sessions or topics would you like to hear from us on? And our job and our goal will be to bring, that content to you. There was loads of great questions also shared today. Obviously, we didn't get to all of them. We definitely want to get to those for you. So what we'll do is I'll challenge my team to look at how we can take those questions and also create, some content around that, either in a follow-up webinar or in a white paper that follows this session, and get that back to you. Obviously, we at Adobe and Magento Engage are really keen to be part of your journey. So, take up that offer that Kevin's put out there. Have a chat to us. We'd love to sit down and really understand your business and what you're trying to achieve, and, hopefully help you achieve those goals. So, Nick, I want to finish by thanking you specifically for today. I mean, you've taken out a valuable time, 90 minutes plus all the time for prepping on this. Really value that, my friend. I personally learned a lot from that session, and I'm looking forward to incorporating some of the ideas you shared into my own business. And I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of everyone else that they're walking away feeling enriched for that. But also Mike and Nick, Kevin, you guys also brought to the table some really valuable insights. So thank you also for being part of today's, wonderful masterclass. So with that, I will wish you guys a wonderful rest of the day. And for those that are dialing in live, wish you a great afternoon, morning, or evening. And if you're listening to on demand, again, look forward to having you join us live on the next session. So with that, I'll hand you back to your days. Thank you, guys. Ciao.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.